Keisha here of New World Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today for a review and a reading. And this time we are doing a deck that I absolutely love. And I actually have had this deck for a year now, but I have not actually used it until I think the last month or so. I've just been like waiting. I just obviously had another deck at the time that I absolutely was in love with. And that was my go-to deck. But this deck has now stepped up, and I believe this is now like my go-to deck. I think that this is going to replace that, which previously I was in love with the Everyday Tarot, but today we're going to review the Tarot of the Haunted House. And I really had been looking forward to this. I remember when it first came out, I think last year, I believe it was released, if my memory serves me correctly. But the creator is Sasha Graham. Okay, and if you've never heard of Sasha Graham, if you're into tarot at all for any amount of time, you've definitely heard of Sasha Graham. She is an amazing source of tarot knowledge. She is an author. She is a veteran tarot professional and truly a tarot master who's been reading the cards for years and years and years and years. And she is such an amazing writer, and the way she kind of describes the tarot, and she's just really, really, really good. And she's actually the author of several books. I think Tarot Diva is one of them. Two more are 365 tarot spells, as well as 365 tarot spreads as well, which are definitely two books I want to get. The only book of hers that I do have is Llewellyn's complete book of the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. And the subtitle is A Journey Through the History, Meaning, and Use of the World's Most Famous Deck. And this book is lovely. I absolutely love this book. She is just an incredible writer. She has so much knowledge to share, and she also is just such a poetic and beautiful, beautiful writer as well. And this book is pretty incredible. Again, it's just exactly what it is. It's a description and a history of the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot in particular. Okay, and it's interesting. It's a great sort of companion piece to, I don't know if you have Robert M. Place's book on the history of the tarot, which is pretty much a whole history of the occult, the whole history of like the deck originated in Europe, but this is particular to the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and this book will pretty much tell you everything you need to know. It's really interesting because it actually tells how it became the world's most popular tarot deck. As far as how Stuart Kaplan of U.S. Game Systems his hand and how he actually moved it up to that prominence, and plenty of black and white illustrations. Has a lot. There's the story of of Arthur Waite, the story of Pamela Coleman, and it also, of course, has a really, really nice thorough breakdown. I mean, this is a great book if you're just learning tarot, and it's a great book if you've been reading the tarot for years. I mean, it's got everything you possibly could want. We got how to use timing, an accepted system of that, astrological correspondence, deacons, inspiration for how Pamela came up with some of the imagery. And of course, we have each card, of course, gets descriptions. And you have the majors, you have the minors, you got the court cards. And what I also love is she is the spread queen, I'll tell you. And she actually has designed a spread for every single card in the deck. And each one has its own spread, its own question, its own layout. And then she also includes a little section too, dictionary symbols. And there's also a category on her approach to methodology and how to read, etc., which is really interesting. And I absolutely love this book. It's always, close by on my shelf. I just really, really enjoy her take on the cards, because she just brings something really cool, magical. But anyway, I digress. But anyway, I highly recommend this book. But let's return back to what we're talking about, which is her deck, The Tarot of the Haunted House. And this deck was illustrated by Mirko Pierre Federici, or Federici, I think that's how you say that. And this is a Lo Scarabeo deck, which Lo Scarabeo is, of course, a pretty popular publisher of tarot decks. You undoubtedly may have one already. This actually is my first Lo Scarabeo deck. So, yeah, it was interesting and interested to get this. So, of course, you kind of know what to expect. You have your little smooth box here, and you have the full cards on the front, and you have the King of Wands on the back. All right. So being a Lo Scarabeo deck, I think all of their decks, I believe, you're not going to get a really huge guidebook or anything like that. You pretty much just have your box, and then you have your little white book. And so that's what we get. And it's done in several different languages as well. And it's a shame, because I really, 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 again, she is such an amazing writer. And the depth and the beauty that she brings to diving into tarot card readings is really, really, really gorgeous. And I would love to have seen a bigger guidebook from her and have her dive into things a little bit more. But then again, if you really do want to get her view on the Rider-Waite system, of course, you can always get the book we just mentioned, Llewellyn's complete book of the Rider-Waite Smith Tarot. But I wish I could just read to you this gorgeous blurb about just setting up her theme, and she kind of has this whole narrative about the haunted house. So this deck, it was inspired by her love of like those old, sort of old Hollywood haunted house movies. Like, for example, The House on Haunted Hill, 13 Ghosts, like that sort of a thing. The Haunting. And it is a beautiful narrative that follows the story of a female protagonist whose name is Raven Wandsworth, and it just kind of follows her story as she, especially, there's an arc theme pretty much going within the major arcana and then within each suit, and it's awesome how she has kind of like put together this storyline with what happens in the cards. And I love this whole like very sort of Gothic, it's very Gothic sort of theme situation. And she gives us two spreads here that are unique to this. So the first one, you see the picture of it. It's an 8-card spread. And the only thing is they actually forgot to do this spread in English. So there's actually several languages, obviously. I think that's a hallmark of the Lo Scarabeo decks. And there's Italian, there's French, there's Spanish, and English, of course, but they forgot to at least even address this spread at all in English. So you can kind of go through it. Spanish is the language I have the most experience with. I can actually tell what most of these positions are in Spanish, but there's still like two that I'm like, I have no idea what that means. So I would actually have to look it up and see. But obviously, if you have a translator or something, you can or spend some time on Google or whatever, you can probably figure it out. But that was just an oops there. But so yeah, we go through the deck, and she also has a shorter, and I love this deck actually, this spread, a shorter 3-card deck, which is literally, you know, in order 1, 2, 3. Position number 1, a fear to be discarded. Position number 2, an action to be taken. Position number 3, an attitude to be embraced. And I've used this, and I've gotten chill-inducing reading just using that one. And yeah, so this deck is, again, it's darker. It's a contemporary dark deck, and I actually was hesitant at first to go through this because this was my first sort of contemporary deck, as in like something that actually has scenes from like the 20th century and on. all of my other decks, I think, the scenes are of an older time. So I kind of was like, you know, I love Sasha Graham, so I wanted to get it, but I wasn't sure how I would actually like it. And I really liked the idea of, you know, sort of a House on Haunted Hill, female-centered sort of narrative tarot deck. So that was another reason why I kind of like didn't let it sit and didn't really do anything with it. But it is awesome. And the 4 suits, she does stick to the traditional wands, cups, swords, and pentacles. Wands are vampires, actually. Let me see if I can very, very, very quickly. So the section for wands is the passion of vampires. All right. The section for cups is the inspiration of angels. So the theme of the cup section is angels. The swords suit are demons. So it's the pondering of demons. So thinking, and then, you know, also demons. And then pentacles is, I think, the legacy of witches, I believe. Yes. Pentacles is the legacy of witches. So it's really interesting concept to chat. So here we have the deck backs, and I love that. This beautiful haunted house on a cliff here, and it is reversible. We have this nice big thick moon. We have this gorgeous sort of you know, archway that's here. So these backs are beautiful and so eerie. Very eerie and beautiful and spooky. Okay, so let's go through it one by one. All right, so you get the title card here. So as soon as you open it up, Tarot of the Haunted House, just like the front of the box, it's what you'll get. All right, and her major arcana, so they actually don't have the name. It just literally will have the Roman numeral for the major arcana. And for the minors, you'll see it has the, I guess you call it Arabic, the regular number, and then also the symbol next to that. So it actually can be, especially until you get to know the deck, it can be a little bit, especially when it gets to the court cards, it's because, again, it doesn't have it spelled out. It literally has like in a small corner, it has a symbol for the hierarchy and a symbol for the suit. So you're kind of, until you get to know it, you're kind of like, you'll be squinting at the bottom of that, like, what is that? Like, so that's one thing that will take some getting used to. So here we have, obviously, all we have is a little 0 in the corner for the Fool. And each of these two has, obviously in the book, has a whole scene, you know, and it's just a little blurb. But for example, 0, Fool. All right, and it reads, Raven Wandsworth, the protagonist. Your journey has begun. The adventure starts, and what has started can't be stopped. Innocence, beginning, potential, pilgrimage, open, madness. So she writes a few sentences about it. She gives it a title, a scene, a title. She writes a few sentences about it, and then she just gives you a whole bunch of keywords. And I love it because she really is a natural writer, and she picks different keywords and what you might usually, they mean, it's the same meaning, but it's a richer, more profound listing of keywords that kind of just really, really gives you a deeper feeling into the deck. All right, so we got the Fool, the Magician, which is the butler of the house, the High Priestess. I love this. The Empress. The Emperor. Nice. The Hierophant. I totally wish I could have the time to read to you the entries on the lovers, because again, they're just really, really rich. All right, we got the Chariot. We have the Chauffeur. Strength, and I love the Strength card. I love the Lion on the mirror. So the lion is actually not really, it's depicted as it's different because he's not depicted as a lion. He's actually on the mirror, and she's looking at a reflection of herself. There's just the little lemniscate necklace that's down here, and I think her eyes are even two different colors, which is like symbolizing like the force within her. The lion it's inside of her. I think that is really, 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 really cool. And we have the Hermit, the Groundskeeper with the lantern, the Wheel of Fortune, and this is supposed to represent the basement. Apparently, the basement of the house is run by machinery, which is so 13 Ghost. I love it, especially the 13 Ghost remake. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I think that was like came out around 2000 or so, with the haunted house that was run by a machine. All right, and then we have Justice, which is the maid dispassionately running the kitchen. The Hanged Man, the Skeleton. Death. Wow. There's Scythe. And we have Temperance, which is, I love it, the bartender, Raven with the bartender. And we have the Devil, which Raven has chained up the lovers that were in the lovers card because she is jealous, according to the narrative, the little white book. And the Tower. And the Star. And this is one of my favorite Star cards ever. So lovely. The Moon. Love this one. And the sun. Judgment, which is Raven saving the child, which I think represents her in the past from the zombies. And the world, in which Raven receives the key to the mansion. It was hers the whole time. Okay, so those are the majors. So we have the Ace of Wands. And the Two of Wands. I love this Two of Wands. I love the Ouija board. And the moon. Love it, love it, love it. It's one of my favorite Two of Wands, actually. And we have the Three of Wands. She's taking action. And we have the Four. And 5. Six. 7. 8. So much action in this section of the cards. Like just explosions and fire like all over the place. All right. 9. Coming out of the maze. Lord of Great Strength there. And 10 of Wands. Right, so as you can see here, we have the, like I said, we have the number and then just the symbol for the numbers of the minors. So here we have our first court card system. So you can kind of see, like as far as what we have here. So this is the Page of Wands. And we have this little symbol down here is a symbol for page. And then this symbol is wands. All right. So again, nothing is spelled out here. It's very, very, very minimalistic. So again, until you can, remember just memorize the images, you're going to be like, what does that say? Like, kind of straining yourself. And the Knight of Wands. So these are all vampires, these characters. This is the Queen of Wands. And the King of Wands. I love that. That's a man right there. Yeah. Okay. So then we have cups. We have the ace. I love this ace. Love that. And I like the Ace of Wands as well. And Two of Cups. Oh, the Lord of Love. I love that. So it's Raven and the Knight of Cups joined together. Three of Cups. I love this Three of Cups card. Nice. And I love how we have it's kind of split, how we have more of the, traditional, could be a good thing up top, but then we also have the aspect of the overindulgence, the intoxication aspect as well. And the Four of Cups. The skeleton with his offering a cup from behind her chair. The Five of Cups. The Lord of Loss and Pleasure. So she's in the basement of the house. Very sad. And the Six of Cups. And I believe this is her younger self that she's either taking or giving flowers to. And we got the Seven of Cups. Decisions, decisions. Choices, choices. And we have the Eight and the Nine. So we have the butler again. I like how he's seated in front of several paintings, and the middle painting is actually the Rider-Waite, the Nine of Cups. And we have the 10. Page of Cups. So these are the angels that were here now. In this court card section, we have the Knight of Cups. And the Queen of Cups. And the King. So we are on to the swords. Ace of Swords. I love this one too. And again, this is something that is taken on more of the darker tone as well. But it's so true. It definitely has a lot of truth to this. One of the more gorier Ace of Swords I've ever seen. But I love it. Absolutely love it. And Two of Swords. Love it. And that is a raging ocean behind her with all that sea spray. So it's not a peaceful ocean. And Three of Swords. Wow, stake through the heart. That can be accurate. Four of Swords. It's interesting with the monster under the bed. Which definitely can kind of, I guess, come into play with, I read reverse. Those Four of Swords were pulled in reverse. It's interesting. A resistance to rest. And then we have the Five of Swords. Lord of Defeat. So we have the head maid who has, I believe, hit or cut the other maid. And we have the Six of Swords, which I believe has her escaping a shipwreck. I think that's, yes, what's going on here. The Seven of Swords. The Eight of Swords. And we have the 9. And 10. All right, and we got the court cards. We got our page. So this section is going to be demons. Knight. Queen of Swords in her library. This always kind of reminded me of Natalie Portman in the Star Wars movie. When she had that, I'm not a big Star Wars fan, obviously, so I forget the name, but when she had on that, like, face paint and everything. I don't know. And the king. All right, and finally we have the Pentacles suit. So we have our Ace of Pentacles. And the Two of Pentacles, which this is an interesting interpretation. It's definitely a little darker and much creepier than I usually ever associate the Two of Pentacles to be. But that actually, I guess I kind of read it into the challenge, more of the challenge of things duplicating and the challenge of balance. And then we have the Three of Pentacles. Emphasis on collaboration and help. Four of Pentacles. I love this card. This is pretty this is pretty dark and pretty accurate for that energy. And this was an interesting one. So Five of Pentacles, I guess these are sort of monsters here. What's funny is I actually suspect that this probably happens a lot. There actually was maybe some disconnect between the Mirko's as the illustrator, what he came up with versus what she described that it should be, because it mentioned something about a storm, and I guess there is a storm here. It's like a little snowstorm or whatnot, but she doesn't really mention these creatures at all. So I'm not sure what these are. I guess they're just monsters. I'm not sure. I don't really. They're just kind of hanging out outside, but there's no mention of these creatures, these monsters in the description at all. So it's kind of puzzling, but okay. And 6. Feeding the rats, and lots of rats down here as well. And 7. Beautiful 7 of Pentacles. And 8. And 9. Lovely. And 10. All right, so we have the Page of Pentacles. and the Knight. And the Queen. This is one of my favorite queens. Queen of Pentacles. This is absolutely beautiful. And actually, I did a deck interview spread before I actually started using this. And this actually is what came up as how the deck described itself to me. And having read with it now, I would say it's accurate. It's definitely a beautiful, gentle, very down to earth. All right, this is the King of Pentacles. Common sense sort of deck. And I expected to like this deck, but I never expected to love it as much as I do. The energy that actually comes from this deck is really, 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 really nice. And it's just a very, again, I love the femininity of it. And it's just, it's funny because I actually consider Sasha Graham, the deck creator, to be a Queen of Pentacles to me. Like, she's someone who is very sort of magical and someone who is very witchy, regardless of whether she describes herself as a witch. She just seems like a natural witch to me. I mean, she was born on Halloween, for God's sakes. Like, what more can you want? But she loves cooking, you know. She just seems someone who is very just down to earth, who loves beautiful things. She seems like she is very much into occult matters and that sort of a thing. And she just seems to just remind me of someone who is more witchy. All right, so I would like to just very quickly just do a quick little draw here. And let's see if I can. And it's not going to be thoroughly blended. This is not, usually takes me a while to thoroughly blend a deck, so we do what we can. But I would like to try. And being that this is the full moon in Pisces, and we're kind of talking about how we can just sort of really confront our subconscious blocks and fears in order to embrace our power in our lives. So I would like to, super quick, just do a quick little draw, just to kind of see how these cards kind of lay out. And just to see how can we release our what actions can we take to release our subconscious block. So what action can we take in our minds, our body, and our spirit to release our subconscious block? Okay, so what action can we take in the head, in our mind? Okay, what action can we take in our heart and our spirit? Looks like a good one there. And what physical action can we take to face our blocks as well? Okay, so for our head, we have the Nine of Cups. For our heart, we have Justice. And for what physical action can we take? We have the Nine of Pentacles. Yeah. So for matters of the head, we have the Nine of Cups. And the Nine of Cups, of course, is all about, you know, that material happiness and all about that contentment. And this, when I see this card here, this is just a reminder that we need to remember and think on why we're doing this. Why are you dealing with your subconscious blocks? It's because so you can be happier. It's because it's so that you can make your world more comfortable for you, so that you can get more pleasure and more contentment out of life. Okay, this is why we're doing this. For matters of the heart, we have the Justice card, and this is just a reminder that you can only get out of life what you put in. And if you are constantly just keeping all of these thoughts and these feelings in your heart that limit you, then you're going to have a limited life. And if you have negativity and pessimism in your heart, you're going to see negativity and pessimism in your life. So it is, if you want to see better results, we've got to be having the better thoughts. We've got to be having the better feelings. Okay. And finally, we have the Nine of Pentacles for what action to take. And the Nine of Pentacles is all about luxury, and she is someone who is used to having the best of the best and nothing less. And that's what we should be doing. That's the action that we should be taking as far as our what beliefs, and as far as what we are feeding into ourselves. If we have to be very discerning and only take the best thoughts and the best emotions, and it's hard, and it's not going to be something that we're going to be able to do all the time. That's ridiculous. We're going to obviously struggle. However, it is so important to kind of take that step and always, ask yourself, is this serving me? Is this worthy? Or is this thought that I'm having, this belief that I have, is this worthy of me? Is it worthy of the life that I want to produce? And if it's not good enough, and we have to get rid of it and replace it with something that is better. Okay. And right away I see we have 2 9s here, which of course 9 is, it's the number of the hermit. It's a number of great wisdom. It's a number of really just trusting yourself. It is the number of blocking out what the world is kind of forcing down your throat, which oftentimes, until we become self-aware, is a lot of the stuff that is within us is from outside of ourselves. It is not from us. So the key here is to learn to listen to our own voices and learn to listen to the rest of the outer world less. All right. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today for this vlog, this review and a reading. And I just want to, again, just, really quickly, and it's really a beautiful deck. And I just was really surprised at how much I really, really enjoy this deck. Like, I think it's so beautiful. And it reads with a very feminine, earthy, gentle, straightforwardness. And it's really funny, because one of the things that any deck interview spread it said that this deck would be able to help me with is it came up seven of swords, which of course I associate with really unveiling any sort of hidden things, dishonesty, being very straightforward and cutting away of the BS. And that's kind of what it has done. It has actually been very straightforward and cutting, but in a very gentle, feminine way, if that makes any sense. And I just really, really, really am vibing with the energy of how this reads, and it's already had some really interesting things to say. So this is probably going to be my go-to deck for the Halloween season and for the autumn and the winter of this year. And I highly recommend it, and I hope that you check it out too. And that is it for today, and I want to wish you the best of luck and lots of happiness and love and joy, and we will see you next time. Be safe. Take care. Bye.